These two homes that I lived in, I never even recognized of lead being there. Wasn't even really familiar what lead was. So at the time, I didn't know my daughter was around that type of environment in those houses. Honestly, it was just me and my daughter's dad at the time. I really had nobody to lean on. Like I said, I was adopted, so mainly all I had to depend on is me or my daughter's dad to help get to the next house.
One of the major issues that we deal with, particularly with tenants, is that they have a fear of reporting their landlord, that they might be evicted from the property based upon the condition of it. Because folks that are stuck in a condition where they're living in maybe substandard or unsafe housing, they don't often have another place to turn to. Like, that is their home and that's where they want to stay, and they don't often have family or support systems that can help them. So one of the largest problems we have in our community is the fact that around 500 children every year are poisoned by lead. And this is an effect that troubles them for the rest of their lives. It's something that's permanent and has to be dealt with only as a preventative measure. You can do some things to get lead out once it has already, been inside the child and is poisoning them, but those measures are very difficult and some of the effects can never be reversed.
When we take all the statistics and the data that I've collected over the years, when the students and I do all these screenings, it ends up being 38.9% of the children in this central city and the outlying area of Toledo are elevated. So we do have a profound problem, and that's why primary prevention is so important.
Homes that were built before 1978 are probably going to have lead in them because lead was the predominant paint that everyone used for decades and decades and decades. So even if you've replaced certain parts of your house, even if you've painted over it, as that new paint deteriorates, the old stuff comes back alive. And the old stuff is still there. It's very difficult, it's very expensive often to remove all of the old lead paint from a property. But there are simple and effective measures to sort of deal with it, to encapsulate it, to make sure that it doesn't present dust harms or other challenges. But it's there. It's there because it's the thing that everyone used for almost 50 years.
It's pretty rampant throughout our community, particularly in our more challenged neighborhoods. So anything that's low to moderate income, maybe the maintenance on the house hasn't been kept up as well. Predominantly Black and brown communities are affected to the highest extent. But it is everywhere as well. It's also in our suburbs, it's not just Toledo, and it's in our more affluent communities. If you live in a historic home or any home that was built before 1978, you're most likely to be lead poisoned. And every zip code in Toledo is considered high risk by the state.
I am a member of the Toledo Lead Coalition. I've been an active member with them for maybe about 5 or 6 years. And that advocacy group was responsible in getting this lead ordinance passed in our city. And as a result of that, homeowners and landlords will no longer be able to rent their properties to families unless they have been deemed lead safe. What was so interesting about Shannon's situation, when we got the referral in, her daughter's lead level was in the 20s. According to Ohio Department of Health and CDC, if a child's lead level is at 5 micrograms per deciliter, we are to take action. So if the lead level is between 5 and 9, we just do kind of an abbreviated investigation and a visual assessment. We just walk through the home. We can point out what we think are possible lead exposures, and then we can educate. It's our hopes that when we do that, the children's lead levels will not increase. Now, if we get a child that has a lead level of 10 or greater, that then causes us to do a full-fledged investigation where we take dust wipe samples, and we also use an XRF gun, because that XRF gun will go through layers of paint to detect the lead.
So a couple things in this particular case with Shannon and her child. She had an opportunity on the front end where she did ask the landlord, about the property's condition. And I think that that's really key, is if you are a tenant and you are looking to rent a property, ask the landlord what's going on. Ask them to provide documentation that they've had their lead safe certification when this law rolls out. That law was not in play for Shannon and could have really helped her, could have protected her and her child for the long term.
Our Toledo Lewis County Health Department have a childhood lead prevention program. We're actually a mandated authority of Ohio Department of Health. After we've identified a child with a high lead level, we are mandated by the state of Ohio to figure out where that source of lead is, to make sure that the end result is for those homes to be remediated so those families can live safely in their environment. We work as a team. We have 2 lead investigators, and myself, I function as the lead case manager. And to simply put it, our lead investigators, they focus on the home, and I focus on that child. So the ultimate goal for me and for my families, of course, is to get those children's lead levels decreased as soon as possible, and of course to prevent future exposures. When we get back to the health department, one of the things we do is notify the owners. After we do our lead inspections, our lead inspectors, they develop a report. The reports are pretty comprehensive, and the reports will show the owners and also the tenants in the house everywhere we found lead. It will show the amount of lead that we found in every place that we have tested. And we also put in that report what the homeowner needs to do to remediate the problem.
I think one of the best moves we made as a district is partnering with the health department and Ms. Gloria Smith. They have done an excellent job of coming over and providing professional development for our staff members, providing information. The more you know, the better, right? Knowledge is power, and just informing our families on what does lead abatement look like, what does when it's peeling paint and things to look for, those warning signs. I think Ms. Gloria Smith and her team, they do an amazing job of giving us that information. So partnering with agencies like the health department and like Ms. Smith has been very powerful for us, and then it helps us to keep that initiative and keep that information out in front of our families and students.
So if you're looking to rent, make sure that whoever you're renting from, especially if you have children, young children, make sure that they are providing you with a lead safe certificate upon rent. And if not, give the city a call, let us know so that we can step in and enforce this. And if you have questions, you can always visit our website, which is ToledoLeadSafe.com, and you can call Engage Toledo directly, and we will personally reach out to you to try to address your concerns. We do have grant funding available, and we're here to help. We really want to have this be a success and to have our city be safe going forward.
Lead poisoning, there are no safe lead levels for children, right? Any type of exposure to lead is going to be dangerous and have damaging effects on the brain and the nervous system.
School nurses and teachers are very good to point out children that might be having difficulty with lead, and they are right on. When we do the lead screening, they are elevated.
The most significant concern is that of living in older or deteriorating housing, and that's one of the reasons why we believe that so many of the zip codes in the area that we serve at our office have been identified with abnormal levels in children.